accepting pain as help for purification, study of spiritual books, and surrender to the Supreme Being constitute yoga in practice. They help us minimize obstacles and attain samadhi. Here, Patanjali explains why Kriya Yoga should be practiced, to minimize obstacles and to get into samadhi. He puts everything in very simple terms, but we should know and remember the vital importance of Kriya Yoga. Without it, we can never overcome the obstacles and reach samadhi. Mainly, all we do in the name of Hatha Yoga, Japa Yoga, living in yoga institutes and ashrams, is all part of our Kriya Yoga, our preparation for meditation and samadhi.
Today we will continue on our study of Sri Patanjali, the Yoga Sutras of Sri Patanjali. Last week we spoke about what helps us get through, life, Kriya Yoga. What drives us into action, Kriya Yoga. What is exactly Kriya Yoga? Accepting pain for purification, study of spiritual books, and surrender to the divine. We spoke about that last week. And why is that kind of like Kriya Yoga? Because it drives us to action. When you're in a very bad state, you want to get out. And really, frankly, the only way out is spiritually. And we're going to be covering this today. So when you learn to accept that the pain has come for a reason, and then you get excited. Okay, now it's not so bad. It's a reason. There's something to it. I'm not being punished, or I'm not going through hell anymore. There's a way out. Then you want to study. You want to learn more. You want to know more. There's something different happening here. There's an essence that is moving in me that I haven't felt before. What is this essence that's actually giving me these periods of peace in the pain? I never thought it was possible. And then finally surrendering, which is what we talk about in axiom therapy. X the selfish I and merge into Om. And then you start to see that when you're all about my pain, my suffering, my life, my, everything to do with me, everybody has to make me happy, you become more unhappy. But when you axe it, but how do you axe this? And we're going to talk about this today. How do you axe the selfish I? Is you transform yourself rather than it's all about me. It's what is my place in this world? And, as Kennedy said, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. And everything shifts. And this is why in yoga we talk about service. Service, working, movement, whatever. When there's a purpose to your work, there is an energy in you. When there's no purpose in your work, something in you dies. Because we know we are born for a purpose. We know that. Intrinsically, we know that. And when we don't have a purpose, we feel truly lost. We don't understand why. And today, Sri Patanjali will tell us why in Sutra 3 of Book 2. But we missed Sutra 2, so I'll just read that to you. He's talking about accepting pain for purification, Swadhyaya, study of spiritual book, and surrender to the divine. He says, they help us to minimize obstacles and attain samadhi. Understanding all this helps us to minimize the obstacles that come in the way. When we know to accept pain rather than to fight and cause revenge and I want to hurt you back because you hurt me, it minimizes the obstacles. It really does, because, what did Gandhi say? An eye for an eye and the whole world will become blind. So, and that's what we, in constant pain, that's what we tend to do, an eye for an eye, without even realizing, not even being awake to it. It's just what we see society has done. So he then, in Sutra 3, We call these the Kleśas. Can you say Kleśas?
Kleshas.
Yes, we call these the Kleśas. So he tells us here, ignorance, egoism, attachment, hatred, and clinging to bodily life are the 5 obstacles. So he's saying, cause of all the obstacles are these 5. We talked about the other obstacles, disease, dullness, doubt, carelessness, laziness. These are obstacles. But he says these obstacles are where all of the other obstacles come from. And what is our biggest obstacle of all? Ignorance. Everything stems from ignorance. Unless you have the knowledge of who you are and why you're in this world, you will constantly keep going in your mind, why did this happen to me? I don't deserve it. It's their fault. Why are they treating me this way? Do you see there's a constant war in your mind, and you will never be free from that war. So here he's saying, why do you have that war? Because you don't realize who you really are. You're ignorant of who you really are. Before I go to Sutra 4, I'm going to skip Sutra 4 for the moment. I'm going to go to Sutra 5, because here he describes what ignorance is. He says, ignorance is regarding the impermanent as the permanent. Can you all say it?
Ignorance
Is regarding the impermanent as the permanent. Okay, you tell me, what's impermanent?
Our bodies.
Your body is impermanent. What else is impermanent?
This world.
Life.
Yeah, everything.
Life and death.
Yeah, our problem is we think everything is permanent, right? So a relationship goes wrong, got a divorce. Oh my God, scream, shout, attack. I want to take everything from you, right? Because we regard it as permanent. We get so locked up in the permanence of things, and nothing is permanent anyway. I could have this house today, and tomorrow there could be an earthquake and gone, right? Is it permanent? Look at Palestine, Israel, look at Ukraine. How many people overnight war, loss? We don't know. Sicily, eruption of the the volcano the other day. Do we really know anything? But we regard things as permanent, so we live in this kind of bubble until something happens. So remember, so that's the cause of pain. The other thing is impure as pure. Impure as pure. What can you think of it's impure as pure?
Your thoughts.
Your thoughts. Yes, that's the most important thing. The whole study of the sutras is all to do with thoughts. Watch your thoughts. Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your deeds. Watch your deeds, it makes your character. Watch your character, determines your destiny. Right? So exactly that. When we have, let's say somebody does something to harm you, and when you're not into the spiritual energy or you don't know who you are, what do? You think bad thoughts about them all day, but what you don't realize, and you think, I have a right, they're really horrible people, fine, yes, you have 100% right to think that way, but you're probably right, they're probably horrible, 100%, but you constantly thinking about that, what does it do to your cells?
Harms you.
It harms you. It makes you sick. You can't live with yourself with so much anger, with so many bad thoughts, even though somebody else has done it to you. You are living that anger, you are living those thoughts. So your mind is contaminated. But you will justify it by thinking they deserve it. Yes, they deserve it. You can justify it because it's the truth. But to keep harping on it is going to make you really feel bad. So what must you learn to do? Forgive. It's the only way out. So when you tell people forgive, like when I have new people coming to me and say, you have to learn to forgive. It's the only therapy that's going to help you. I never forgive. I said the same words to my master. Exactly the same words. And you know what he said to me? Do you want peace, Nalanie? And I said, yes, but I can't. And he goes, do you want peace, Nalanie? I go, yes. Do you want peace? Yes, then you have no choice. how do I do it? What's the next step? This is the swadhyaya. This is the study of spiritual books. What comes next? How do I get there? And that's when you change the impure thoughts to pure thoughts. And what did he tell me to do? Bless the person that's hurt you so much. And what did I say to him? Not possible. I said, it would make me a hypocrite. And he said, yes, Nalanie, you will feel like a hypocrite for a little while. But I promise you, one day you will really forgive them. So being a good student, I was a good student, I must say. Whenever he told me to do something, I did it. I trusted him. And I did it. I meditated every day thinking about this person that, caused me so much pain, and just showered them with blessing and love. The first 3 months, I really didn't mean it, but I did it like a practice. I'm practicing, I'm practicing, I'm practicing. And when I saw the person 6 months later, I was shocked by how I felt. I thought, not working, this is not working, this is not working. When I saw her, I only felt compassion. And I go, it's working. It worked. It worked. It's magic. I'm free. I feel no hatred. I feel no anger. I feel so sorry for her. How horrible to be such a horrible person. It is, isn't it? It's horrible. I really felt that. I felt really sorry for that. But I couldn't change her. It was not my job. My job was just to make myself free. And that's exactly, by forgiving her, I became free. So this is exactly what we're doing in yoga. We're looking for freedom. We call it moksha in Sanskrit. So in order to set ourselves free, we have to practice tapas, because it's very difficult to forgive somebody who's hurt you so badly. In the beginning, you really burn. You don't really want to do it. But if you do it, you become free. And I tell you, it's the best practice in the world. It really is. As soon as somebody hurts you, you practice letting it go. Maybe you fester for half a day and then you say no more. But as you practice in time, you get stronger and stronger and stronger. Then even if something happens, a silly person, they hurt themselves, bad karma for them. You don't even try to think anything. Say, oh, what have they done? They've created this bad karma for them for being so mean. It's hurting them. Sometimes in the recent days, when people really sometimes are not very nice, I do face some jealousy from people from my walk of life, and I just go, bless them, bless them, because they're going to suffer for it, in the sense that they're living with the jealousy. At least I'm not, Better for them to be jealous of me, but let no harm come to them. Let no harm come to them, because really they're teaching me. Without those teachers that hurt you or tell you things, how do you know you can do it? How do we know we can forgive if somebody doesn't hurt us? We don't know. It doesn't mean that you have to like them. It doesn't mean you have to go in their energy field. It means you have to be free. Do you understand that? Because sometimes people tell me, oh, now, I've forgiven this person, but every time I go there, I get triggered again. I go, don't go so often till you learn to go beyond it. You don't have to face it again and again and again. And when you feel you can't handle it, do a prayer in your mind and walk away. Walk away, say, I'm sorry, I'm busy today. As I tell a lot of people when they have divorces, right? Because you always get one partner that wants everything from the other partner. It happens all the time. Greed is horrible, right? And so you get them shouting on the phone, and the partner says, how do they expect me to give everything? How am I going to live? I say, shh, quiet. Just say, I'm busy now. Don't give them ammunition. You go to the judge like that, and you ask the judge nicely, if they take everything from me, how am I going to live? Every single case, when they practice that, they've won the case. It's amazing how it works. Because the moment you fight, then there's more fighting. I want more, you want more. Everybody's arguing. Kids get involved. Kids get damaged. Taking sides. This way, clean plate. One person, the yogi, has to keep quiet. And they go, why do I have to do it? I said, because you want peace. That one doesn't want peace, but you want peace. And this is medicine. You know, you're having all these impure thoughts. It's making you sick. Don't allow it. They're doing it to trigger you purposely, to hurt you as much as they can. Forgive them, because they're really hurt. They're really angry. They're really hurt. But because everything is too new, there's so much anger, stay away, step back. And it works time after time. It really works. But it's not easy. It's not an easy ride for people who have to go through it. They really have to cry and hold themselves. It's the way it is. So the ignorance is regarding the impermanent as permanent, the impure as pure, and the painful as pleasant. Now, how many times have we seen this? We see it a lot in religious ceremonies, right? You know, and Easter Sunday and flagellation, hating themselves. We see it and they think it's good. I mean, there's so much. In India, you see them sleeping on a bed of nails. I mean, how does that prove you're a yogi? You can sleep on a bed of nails, yes. And then they pierce their tongues and, ugh. Do you know, how is that pleasant? But they regard the unpleasant as pleasant. And they make themselves suffer. Oh, God wants me to suffer. And, you know, there was a lovely sutra in the Bhagavad Gita. In fact, I think Gurudev explains it here in this book. And it says, let me read this to you. Those who practice severe austerities, not enjoined by the scriptures, who are given to hypocrisy and egoism, impelled by the forces of lust and attachment, who are senseless, who torture all the elements in their body, and me also, who dwells in the body. So when you hurt yourself, you hurt, what he's saying, God, the energy, the divine. When you hurt yourself, you're hurting God, right? And know thou these to be of demonical resolves. In the name of tapasya, people sometimes practice all sorts of self-torture. In the East, there are sadhus, ascetics, who lie on beds of nails or keep one arm raised in the air so the arm gets thinner and thinner and finally decays. These are just forms of self-torture. Lord Krishna himself says these people are demons because they disturb the pure self who dwells within their bodies. Self-discipline is an aid to spiritual progress, where self-torture is an obstacle. So why do people do these things to themselves? Ego, right? Oh, look, I can do this. Oh, I can walk across fire. Oh, I can walk across the water. You know, Ramakrishna's story, right? Some of you don't know it, but I'll tell it again. There was a great 19th century Indian saint called Ramakrishna, and he had a disciple. And the disciple said, oh, Ramakrishna, you know, I heard that we do a lot of pranayama yoga practices. My dream is to walk across the water. So why would you want to do that? No, I want to do it. So every day this disciple started doing pranayama, breathing practices to make his body light, but severely. 12 years he spent doing these practices. 12 years later, his body becomes really light and he could walk on water. And he's so excited. And he goes to his master, Master, I've done it. I can walk on water. And the master said, really? What good does that do you? I pay the boatman 1 rupee and he gets me across. Do you see? It's really, when you see the truth of it, it's really interesting. My master used to say, don't be fooled by miracles. Don't be fooled by miracles. Because what's the point of performing a miracle if you're unhappy inside? The divine's in all of us. And this is the point that we really need to see, that we have to live the best life we can individually as who God made us, or energy made us, whatever you want to call it. And do it in the most pure, honest way, loving way. And it's your way. Truth is one, parts of many. It has to be your way. It can't be my way. My way is different. I love all the gods. I have them every. Might not be your way. Follow your way. Do you understand? Very clearly. Do not allow anybody to take away the way that makes you connect. If Lord Jesus makes you connect, connect. You just live the right way. If it's Shiva, Lord Shiva that makes you connect, connect. Buddha, whatever it is, if it's nature, if it's the sky, if it's the trees, connect. Doesn't matter what it is. And that's why I love about the science of yoga. It gives you the freedom to connect the way you know how. You know? A mother with a child. I see God in my child. Do you know? It happens. There's so many ways to connect. So so the pure thought. Don't regard what is unpleasant for pleasant. What's the other thing? Drugs, right? People have a lot of drugs, they get high. Any kind of addiction, which is, pleasant in the beginning, but unpleasant in the end. These are things that we think, oh, they're going to just make us really well, but they don't. They really don't. So need to be careful of that. And then he says, the painful as pleasant, that's the torture, and the non-self as the self, with a capital S. Okay, how Patanjali, or the science of yoga, refers to this divine in us, or consciousnesses within us, what the scientists say is consciousness. Okay, we live in a field of consciousness. So this, the yogis call self with a capital S. Now, this self never dies. The self never dies, because it's just like, again, and I'm going to repeat it again so you get it really, really clear. In order to see a movie, you need a screen. You go to the cinema. Imagine this in your head so you really get it. The screen is always white, 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 white. The screen is so kind. It allows any image to go on it. The movies can keep changing, but the screen is always white. So you need that solidity in order to show something. So like that consciousness, that whiteness, that purity is in everything and everyone. And so that is the higher self. That self is pure, non-judgmental. It's what I call the powerhouse of energy. Whatever you want, it will give you. It will give you whatever you want. So if somebody really wants and meditates on money, they will get money. The question I ask is, does it give you peace? Does it make you happy? Nothing wrong with money, it's wonderful. But if you have that peace, that white screen inside of you, and you look to that, whatever you need, you'll just have to say it and you'll get it. And you wouldn't want too much, because too much would make you dizzy. You want more simple. As you see the white screen, you realize that that piece is so powerful that everything else next to it seems not important. So you won't even ask for anything. You'll just know whatever you need, you'll get. That's the state of freedom. That's the state you want to be in. That state of freedom. You just know. You just know. This is really interesting. I'm going to tell you something. I've seen a lot of people in my life. And, I have met people, many business people, who just know how to make money. And many of them have gone bankrupt quite a few times, right? And the difference is, whenever they come to me, it's never about the money. It's never about the business. It's about relationships or something else, or something they've done wrong, or something somebody else has done to them. And every time they've lost everything, and I ask them, how do you feel about it? And they've said, oh, no problem. I'll make it again. They know. And they always do. They just know. That is the difference between one person just, I know, I'm scared, I'm fearful, I've lost it. So no, I've lost it, I'll make it again. So interesting, right? I just find that so interesting. So when you know that you know that you know, it's like, I know we'll always be looked after. You know, you just know. Yes, of course we're human. It doesn't mean that once in a while we're not going to be concerned, because that would be a bit ridiculous as well. As human beings, we need to put some effort in. We need to put some work in. So we also have to have some ideas on how to do it. India, you have the other extreme. You have the poverty. And then they go, oh, this is my karma, so do nothing. Do you see? Also not correct. You have to shift the energy like Kriya Yoga. Make the action. You just can't sit back and hope everything's just going to work. That's blind faith. We're not talking about blind faith here. We're talking about real faith. Okay? So this is, so that's ignorance. If you can remember that. So what is the real self? What is the real self? That in you that is divine. And every time you forget it, a couple of exercises you can do, which is how I did it with me. Ask myself, who was I before I came to this body? Do I know? No. Obviously, energy entered my mother's womb through them making love. How nice the way to come onto this earth, right? And then, who will I be? Isn't that nice? It's a lovely way to come to the earth. Create a child with love. I think it's fantastic. So anyway, so then you leave the earth. The body is here. Where am I? Where's Nalanie? She's buried or burnt. I would like to be burnt, cremated. She's cremated, so who am I? She's cremated. Who am I that left the body? Whenever I think that, I get back into myself. Another way I do it, and I hope this can help you too, whenever I used to get, now I don't need to do it so much, but in the early days it was a permanent practice. I get like, oh my God, this really can't be happening. My husband says we're going to lose all the money for the business and blah, 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 the worry, da-da-da-da. I go, look at the night sky, and I look up and I go, so many stars, so many galaxies, so many planets. Them looking at me, making such a big fuss. I'm not even a sand. I'm not even a little strand of sand. I'm not even that. And there I am making so much fuss. And then I used to get back into reality. Stop the nonsense. I used to tell myself. Another thing I used to tell myself all the time. Stop the nonsense. It's all the mind going da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Stop the nonsense. Remember who you are. And then the peace comes again. When the peace comes, you're able to continue. If you have no peace, you can't continue. You can't do anything. You're just like trapped in this pain, in this, what I call the dark cloud over you, and you can't seem to get out. You can't seem to get out. The only way out is spiritual. What is the song? The only way is up. Yeah. So when you think like this in your life, you just everything, the pain lessens, the exaggeration of the thoughts lessen. You realize it's not as bad as it all looks. You just painted it in your mind. It was all, what do we call it? Mind stuff. I love Sri Patanjali's word. Mind stuff. Mind stuff. You know, it's all just stuff, and we're human. And then you start to like, okay, I can do this. I am divine. And then go, like we did last week, I am light, I am light, I'm light, I'm light. If you can't use the word divine or consciousness or the kingdom of heaven is within, say I'm light, and that's just as good. So that's ignorance. Now I'm going to go back, because here Sri Patanjali describes ignorance in different stages. He says, ignorance is the field for the others mentioned after it, whether they be dormant, feeble, intercepted, or sustained. So what he's saying is ignorance is the cause of all our trouble. It's why we have a big ego, it's why we get hurt, it's why we get attached, it's a reason for all of it. But he says, understand there are different levels of ignorance. So when you, for example, he says, like in a baby, right? You see a baby is so pure. And in a baby, the ignorance hasn't come forth yet. So the ignorance is called dormant. That's why babies cry when they cry, they want food when they want. They just do what they do because they're in a blissful state, right? So they say, that's why they say ignorance is bliss. So this is dormant. The ignorance hasn't come to the forefront yet. And then the second stage is feeble. What does this mean? When you've been practicing yoga for a long time or working with your mind and understanding you're much more than this body and starting to do the spiritual work, meditating, walking, contemplating, when you start thinking, what happens? You start to get very strong. So when the negative thoughts come up, you kind of like, oh, there it comes up again. I'm not going to sing this crazy song again. You get stronger. You get stronger. The anger comes up from before. You realize the anger becomes less. And you're able to say, not going to do this. I'm going to take another road. You're able to do that. And that's when the ignorance is feeble. It's not attacking you so strong. Here it goes again. But you don't let it affect you because you've weakened it through your practice. Okay? Now, intercepted is where most people are when they practice yoga for the first few years. It comes and it goes. The days when you just know that everything is okay and you're living this play called life, you just know. And there are days when it's all flown out of the window. You go, none of this is true. It's all rubbish. I don't believe in any of it. What am I doing with my brain? But you can't go back. You can't go back. Try, you can't. And this is when it's called intercepted. Some days you feel really strong and other days you don't. Don't worry, keep practicing. That's why Sri Patanjali tells us, practice for a
long time.
Without a break and with all your heart. So that's why it says, keep practicing. When you're in intercepted state, it's good. It means you're getting somewhere. Sometimes you're getting stronger. You can control it. No, feel good. Reward yourself. I used to, reward myself. When there was a habit I used to get triggered with, and I noticed that I didn't get triggered, I go, oh my God, what can I do for myself? I'll do something nice. I'll go buy a dress or something. Whatever it is that made me happy, or buy a little crystal to make me happy. I would personally reward myself because, good girl, you did a good job today. Never expected anybody to reward me, but it made me want to do it again and again and again. Because that's behavior modification, by the way, in psychology. When you do something good, reward it. You do something negative, don't reward it. So these are some of the practice I used on myself, and they just worked. And I hope it works for you too. And then finally, ignorance is sustained. Now here we see the majority of the world, hopefully now less than before, totally unaware, totally into the material world. No idea of soul, spirit, energy, just money and finance and parties and everything is so materialistic, and they just can't think any other way. And they're just stuck in that world, and it's sustained. They just can't see anything else, and they're totally in this ignorance. And try as you can't help them. The only way these people will realize is when suffering comes, and that's why it drives us. Suffering does drive us to action. I know, because some of the people that I see are so much in the business world, and it is only when they are suffering that they will so deeply that they will ask, surely there is something more. And we've seen it because they can't get to that spirit. How many times when we've had financial crashes, right? 2008, what was it, 1980, 90 something. Anyway, we've had lots of financial how many people commit suicide? Because there's no grounding. This is their world. Oh, the material world's all gone. And now, how many young people are committing suicide? Why do you think? Why do you think there's no grounding? The kids are not taught about grounding. They're not taught the yamas niyamas. They're not taught that there's a power within them. So when they can't cope with a problem, they think that's it. They can't cope. Let's just kill myself because I can't cope. But they don't understand that all the power is within them. They just needed somebody to tell them that. I see many people see their parents argue in that kind of world, and the children are so sensitive. They know there is something more, but they can't deal with that world. There's nobody advising them, and they self-harm, start cutting themselves, start hurting themselves, because they don't know how to get out of that pain. Really don't know how. So when you tell them they have all the help they need within them, you guide them in the right way, you teach them a way to be, you teach them the yamas niyamas, there's something in young people that just grasp it immediately. They just know. They know that they know that they know. And, I hope that we can, this generation and all of you guys can do more work with young people and really start to do something for them, because the teens are really lost now, especially with social media. It's all about how you look. It's all about how they appear to the world. They don't know who they are anymore. They want to be that person in Instagram all the time, or Facebook, or this one. They don't know who they are. They're so lost. And then if the grades are not good as the other one, they feel they failed in life, they're never going to get going. If they're different, they must be sick. I say, no, you're just normal. We're all different. Don't you know we're all different? Why would you want to be like anybody else? Really? Yeah, God made you an individual. Why would you want to be somebody else? Who are you? Find out who you are. And they get excited. It gives them a project to find who they are, rather than be like anybody else. It's too hard to be like anybody else, isn't it? Haven't you noticed when you want to be like anybody else, you struggle too hard? But just be the best you are, and it's much simpler. So that's the ignorance. So are you understanding it? So there are different stages in people's lives. So, see where you are. Don't judge yourself. If you're in the feeble stage, great, keep going. And if you're in the intercepted state, keep going. If you're in a sustained state, which you are not, otherwise you wouldn't be sitting in this room. You couldn't be. You'd walk out because you wouldn't understand half of what I'm saying. You go, oh my God, this is not for me. And you just walk out. So nobody's in the sustained state in this room or in Zoom. So, and I love it because when you're working with people, and sometimes when we're with people, we expect them to get it right away. And that's quite cruel. It's not their fault that they don't know. And as yogis, we must be kind and see and be able to see where they are in life. Don't disturb them too much, but instead be an example. Remember Bhagavad Gita. The wise will not disturb the mind of the unwise, but instead show them by their own example. Good. You teach by example, not so much by words. When people see your example, they want to learn from you. How many times have people lectured you? I remember when I was young and I got lectured about what to do. And I'm thinking in my head, why are they telling me what to do? They don't do it. Have you ever thought that? No. I've thought that 1,000 times in my life. How dare they tell me what to do when they don't do it themselves? But when somebody lives a certain way and they give you advice, what will you do? you immediately listen to them, because you see proof is in their action, right? So this is how we have to become. Our word has to be our bond. We have to be truthful in how we apply things to people. Otherwise, how are they going to learn? They'll never listen to us. So it's really important to watch ourselves first. And this is really the most important thing. Unless we fix this up, we have no right to tell people what to do. And even if you do, you're just wasting time. They'll never respect you for it anyway, because they think, well, okay, I'll just listen, but I don't think that, anybody should tell me what to do. So watch it, all right? Really watch it, because it gives you a guide on what you can do with your life. 6, egoism is the identification, as it were, of the power of the seer with that of the instrument of the seeing, body, mind. This is just fancy words. Egoism is when we falsely self-identify, falsely. We think, something, we're arrogant, or we falsely identify who we really are. So when somebody for example, I'm so famous, everybody should be speaking to me in a certain way, right? That's a false identification. So what happens is, let's say somebody's rude to me, or somebody, just says a joke to me, and I take it really seriously, right? Because I believe that I'm so great. Do you see what I'm saying? So if anybody says something wrong, it affects my ego. It's because I identify with what I think people should think of me. And that's really scary. And this is where you have a lot of singers and stars, right? Everybody has this image of them that is so incredible. What happens to them is they get the fear. What if they can't live up to that image? What if their voice cracks tonight? What if they can't do this? And many of them get so locked that they start to take all the drugs, and then finally end up committing suicide, overdosing, because it's too much pressure for them, you see, because they believe they have to be that in order to be worth anything in life. But they're much more than that. They're much more than that. So egoism is a big problem for many of us. I'd like to read to you what the Upanishads say about who we really are, and not what the ego tells us we are. Actually, we're lucky, we're so blessed to be the pure ego, more than the personality ego. So it says here, like two golden birds perched on the self-same tree, the ego and the self, intimate friends, self with a capital S, all right? They dwell in the same body. The ego eats the sweet and sour fruits of the tree, while the self looks on in detachment. So there's the white screen, the self. Nothing affects it. Even though the movie is on it, it's still a white screen. Can you see that? So that's the self. As long as we think we are the ego, we feel attached and fall into sorrow. Oh, I need this in order to be happy. I can't have it. Oh my goodness, I'll be miserable. Right? The ego. We feel attached. We just attach ourselves to everything. But realize that you are the self, the Lord of life, and you will be freed from sorrow. Realize who you really are. You're that white screen, the Lord of life, and be free from sorrow. When you realize that you are the self, supreme source of light, supreme source of love, you transcend the duality of life. Life is always going to be dual. We're always going to have good and bad, pain and sorrow, pleasant and pain, all that. We're going to have it for the rest of our lives. What happens is when you realize this is the movie, you are playing the movie. Once you understand that totally, you transcend the mind, you transcend the movie. Say, okay, this is my movie. It's really bad at the moment. Let's see how I'm going to react. Am I going to cry, scream? I'm just going to, okay, it's painful, accept pain for purification. What am I going to do about it? I'm going to now delve into spiritual books. I'm going to go for a walk. Maybe I'll go for a retreat, or maybe I'll go for the beach for 2 days, or maybe I'll have silence for 2 days. Maybe I'll study about myself a little bit more. You see, you will do something about it. And then you will, because really you become your own source of light, right? When you do that, you find light. You do. Everybody who's done that practice has got some answers. You transcend the duality of life and enter into a unitive state. And then you realize the Lord of love shines in the hearts of all. Seeing him in all creatures, the wise forget themselves in the service of all. The Lord is their joy, the Lord is their rest. Such are they, are the lovers of the Lord. Now, where is the Lord? 1 minute it's saying it's inside of you. Then it says, fall in love with the Lord. So is the Lord outside or inside? You see why people find this language so difficult? Because we are, and that's why I love it described as the Lord of love, because I can only understand it is when I'm in those phases of absolute love for everything and everyone. I think all of you can understand that. You feel blissful. You feel in heaven, right? The word is bliss. It's not even happiness or peace. It's just bliss. And that's why they use the word bliss. So because it's inside of you, that's where you feel the love, right? By truth, meditation, and self-control, one can enter into this state of joy and seeing the self shining in a pure heart. So when your heart becomes pure is when your thoughts become pure. True or not? When you have good thoughts, how do you feel? When you do something nice for somebody, how do you feel? Good, right? So that's why they say service for all, because you know when you do something good for somebody, you feel really good. So you want to do it more. And when you're thinking, I need this, how do you feel? Awful. Because you're not getting what you need, right? Truth is victorious, never untruth. Truth is the way. Truth is the goal of life, reached by sages who are free from self-will. This is self-will they're talking about. Again, the egoism, the I need, I want. Okay, it's not saying you can't have a goal in life. It's not saying you can't have desires in life. It's not saying that. What it's saying is, I have to have this, otherwise I'll be happy, won't be happy. Do you know that force that I have to have? Rather than, you make your dreams, you make your goals, but no pressure on yourself. Because if it's meant for you, you'll get it. The effulgent self, what does that mean? The one that shines, who is beyond thought, shines in the greatest, shines in the smallest, shines in the furthest, shines in the nearest, shines where? In the secret chamber of the heart. There's where you feel it. There's your message again and again. So when people have low self-esteem, when people don't like themselves, when they constantly, it's all my fault, doesn't work. You've lost it. You've lost the energy that you've been given, the soul energy. But if you say, okay, this is disaster, it's come to me, I've done it, I'm going to correct it, and I know where that's from, there's a lot of goodness. I know because I'm light, so I better behave like light. And you forgive yourself quickly and you behave like light. It's easy. You have the golden rules. You know how to do it. You can do it. And you have to affirm that again and again. Lord Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is where? Within you. Here it's telling you it's within you. Patanjali is saying it's in you. What covers it? Egoism, ignorance. These are the things that cover who you really are. Again and again, but yet human beings find it so hard to believe. And when Lord Jesus said that to all the people, what did they do? Blaspheme as crucify him. Hello? Do you see? Lucky we're not living in that era, otherwise we'd all be burnt down as witches. We're very lucky, right? We would be. We would all be burnt. All the people with natural remedies, etc. Oh my God, we're really living in a nice era where we're allowed to say things like this. 30 years ago, when I was teaching the Sutras, people thought I was mad, you know? So, and it's been there for 3,000 years because human beings are human beings. We are creatures of the divine, and only in this body, human body, can we self-realize. Animals can't self-realize. They have a mind, they have a body, but they can't. They're controlled by everything else, right? But we can self-realize. We can. That's our gift. So some modern New Agers would call it, we are co-creators with God. And that's exactly what we are. We are co-creators with the divine, because how is it, an energy, going to function without an instrument? Not going to be able to. How does electricity work without a bulb, without a heater, without Zoom, without a computer, right? Electricity. So electricity is the divine source, and we're just the instrument. If we can understand that, then you can understand the source of power is infinite, is always there, is never going to go away. It is our mind that cuts it off. It's our fear that cuts it off. It's our guilt that cuts it off. And once you understand that, then every time you go into a dark place, you understand nobody is punishing you, it's your own mind. Simply yourself. And the only person that can cure yourself is you. So the more you learn about who you really are, the divine, by meditation, by practicing truth, by living a good life, the sooner you get to that point. It's all up to you. That's the freedom we have.